Hello, everybody out there in Rumble, X, and YouTube land. Welcome back to Diego Knows. I, of course, am Diego. And let's talk some more about The Housemaid. The Housemaid from 2025, which is on streaming now. If you want to watch it, it's there. HD quality. It made it. It made it. Okay, The Housemaid. What can I say about this movie? Sydney Sweeney, she's got some great tatas. Okay, look incredible. Now, don't get me wrong, I've seen better in porn and in real life, but I mean, she looks good. I mean, damn, you know, Hollywood hasn't given us sexy women in a long time. It's good to have a sexy woman again for a change. 'Cause let me tell you something, okay? What men find sexy and what women find sexy are usually not the same thing at all. Okay, I don't know what the disconnect is, man. I mean, on a guy, like when we find sexy, we look at boobs, we look at butts, we look at face, legs. You know, I mean, you women, y'all look at like their hands and stuff. Who gives a crap about what their hands look like? Nobody cares. You know, y'all get turned off by stupid stuff like that. You know, their back. Who cares? You know? No, sorry, ladies. We don't look at your back. Okay, except when we have to. You know what I mean by that? Okay, anyway. Sorry, get my mind out of the gutter. Well, this movie's in the gutter, man. This is like an erotic thriller, which makes no sense. I think it was written by a 13-year-old. Okay, seriously. I mean, this movie expects you to be an idiot. Like, really, you got to check your brain at the door. Okay? And the whole time I was watching this movie, I couldn't believe what was happening because it didn't make sense. No human being in their right mind would put up with the stuff that Millie has to put up with in this movie. I don't care what the consequences are. Okay? The moment you don't feel safe in your job environment, like you don't feel physically safe, okay, no person is going to stay there. Okay? Now, I was in the military, okay? I've been in dangerous situations, and you're right. You can't just get up and quit when the going gets tough, all right? But she's not anywhere near a situation like that. She's not in combat or anything, okay? Her job is to clean houses, okay? And to babysit a little girl and to clean houses and do the shopping for the family. I mean, you know, like, well, what the hell? You know, you don't feel safe in that environment. Why are you there? You know, it makes no sense. You know, why would she like surrender her phone? Like she has no internet access except for what's on that phone. That makes no sense. She doesn't even have a tablet. She's got no Kindle, no laptop. You see what I mean? Why is the phone the only source of her communicating with the outside? Okay, this movie came out in 2025 for Christ's sake. Okay, how many people even use the phone anymore? For calling, okay? Everything's done online now. That house has Wi-Fi, okay? Why does she only have one device? You know, one device that can be turned off anytime. I mean, that makes no sense. Okay, why would Millie get rid of her personal phone just to get the phone that Nina gave her? You know, that makes no sense at all. If anything, she would have two phones. Okay, one for her personal use and one for her job. That's what most people do. Okay, you got your work phone and then you got your personal phone. You see what I mean? And this movie doesn't even go there. It doesn't even entertain that idea. You see, that's what I'm talking about. Okay, this movie makes no logistical sense. Anybody can see through all the plot holes. There's enough plot holes in here to fly a 747 through them. Okay. But this movie expects you to be dumb and just go with it because they want to stimulate your emotions, which is good. But a good movie doesn't just stimulate your emotions. A good movie stimulates your mind as well. Okay, and there's nothing here that you can't see coming. Okay, when the plot twist happens, okay, it's so out of left field, it doesn't seem like it makes sense. Okay, in this movie, the major plot twist is the one that's about to come up. It's the part I'm going to talk about today. Okay. But it turns out that Nina, okay, who we thought was this abusive, lying, manipulative, murderess who killed her parents in a fire when she was a little girl, has been put in the nut house several times, tried to kill her daughter as well. This is the woman that hired Millie to be her housemaid. She has lied about Millie. She has manipulated Millie. She has disrespected her, treated her like crap, threatened her over and over again. You know? And we're just supposed to believe that a normal person would put up with this? This is ridiculous. The movie is making Nina out to be the bad guy, and luckily her husband is this nice, rich, handsome, attractive, good-looking, gorgeous, sexy, and he's cute on top of all that. Okay, and he's tall, ripped abs. The typical thing, right? Well, you got the wife beater that's surgically attached to his chest. That guy is Prince Charming. He's the knight in shining armor. He's the white knight who's there to save Millie from his abusive wife, and all that. So it really props him, but they really like puff his Peter, to be this grand, good guy, the man of her dreams that she's been waiting for. If only he wasn't married to this bitch, that kind of thing. Only to find out that he's the bad guy after all. That the woman that's been a fucking total fucking cunt this entire movie, guess what? She's the victim. She's actually the victim, so you need to feel sorry for her. Okay? Because everything that went wrong in her life is Andrew's fault, her husband's fault, not hers. Nothing is her fault at all. She's not responsible for shit. Just like Millie, nothing is her fault either. Okay? And we'll find that out later on, what she went to prison for. Okay? And this movie still wants to go with that narrative, okay, that women are not accountable for their own actions. Okay? There is no accountability in this movie. Okay? And Millie being in prison is not accountability. Okay? No. What she did, she went over the line with what she did, okay? But it hasn't stopped her from anything, okay? I mean, it didn't even stop her from getting this job. Now, we'll get into what she did later, okay? But with the crime that she went to prison for, it didn't stop her, okay, from becoming the housemaid avenger by the end of the movie. You see what I mean? Everyone just basically, metaphorically, okay, spreads their legs open for Millie. Okay, and that's just not realistic. I don't care how sexy she is. Okay, it's not realistic. Is that the only adversity she has really is that her employer is a bitch. I mean, that's not realistic at all. Okay, let's get into this damn movie here. Okay, so where we left off last time. Okay, just a quick recap. Millie is an ex-con. She lied on her resume. She gets hired by Nina Winchester, the psycho bitch who's a mom who lied about being pregnant. Okay, she's a mom of a 8-year-old girl named Cece, and her husband Andrew, who's rich, handsome, all that kind of stuff, all the check boxes, okay, that the women cream over, right? He's all those things, right? So she gets hired there, lied on her resume. Okay, she said she went to Ivy League school, and that's where she has been, that kind of crap. Anyway, she gets hired there. They take away her cell phone and give her a new cell phone because it's, because her cell phone is ancient. So that's the reason why Millie gets rid of her phone. Okay, she gets a new phone because it's got the family's credit card information on there, but it could also be tracked. Okay, and the owner of the account can look at all the messages that were sent through that phone and read all the text messages and all the DMs and all that kind of stuff, right? Tracking everything, right? So, of course, Millie never thinks about this at all. She accepts a room, okay, in the attic, okay, which is a tiny little room with one bed, a little minimum furniture, okay, that locks from the outside. So if someone were to lock her in, which I'm sure will never happen, but if someone were, despite the claw marks that are on the door handle there, okay, if someone got locked in before, that's never going to happen, so Millie has nothing to worry about. There's only one window in the room. It's too small. It doesn't open anyway, so she couldn't fit through it even if she could get it open, okay? And, the room is soundproof as well. Okay, so that's another bonus. But don't worry, nothing's going to happen. Okay, Millie accepts all this stuff. Her employer, Nina, is a psycho bitch, lies about her, makes her pay for things that aren't her fault, threatens to fire her every 5 minutes. Okay, yells at her, calls her freaking names, exposed to her husband that she's an ex-con, which means that she knew Millie was an ex-con and hired her anyway. Okay. But yet she didn't tell her husband what Millie went to prison for, but yet this woman got trusted to be in charge of their money, their credit cards, their house, their property, their children, all that kind of stuff, right? Okay, she's a super sexy young woman with big tits, Yet the mother of the house hired her anyway. You know, is that something a woman would do? Hire a more attractive woman to be around her daughter and to be around her husband, especially when she's out of town? Are you fucking crazy? You're supposed to believe it. Now, I know that the plot twist is Nina did all this on purpose. I know. But the movie doesn't tell us that in the first hour. It doesn't tell us that all this was on purpose. We're just expected to believe that Nina is legitimately shocked that the housemaid was fucking her husband. You know? That Nina's legitimately upset about this. You see what I mean? It makes no sense. So if Nina ends up being the good guy after all, then how the fuck did Millie excuse all the fucking shit she put her through? That's not something a good guy would do. A good guy's not gonna torture a fucking woman just so that they can escape. How the fuck are we supposed to feel sorry for both of them? How are we supposed to feel sorry for Nina and Millie? When Nina's been just as much of a cunt to fucking Millie as Andrew is. You see what I'm talking about? But this movie just expects you to feel sorry for both of them. They're both victims, so they're both boss bitches. Get the fuck out of here with that fucking noise. God damn, nobody fucking believes it. Anyway. So that's our situation here, okay? So anyway, it turns out that Nina found out that her husband, Andrew, had sex with Millie while she was out of town. So she slaps Millie. Andrew, the husband, decides he wants to keep Millie and get rid of his wife. So he kicks his wife out of the house. And we get a montage of Andrew and Millie just fucking like rabbits all over the house in every room. You know, in the sauna and the jacuzzi and the backyard, on the roof. They're just fucking doing it everywhere. Okay. Millie is happier than a pig in shit. Okay. Because she's acting like this house is all hers now. You know, she's the woman of the house now, that kind of thing. You know, she's replaced Nina's position. She's got a rich, gorgeous man, you know, 6'2", hung to a shoe, who's going to provide for her now and take care of her and satisfy her sexually and all this kind of bullshit, right? Because she hasn't had sex with a man in 10 years because she was in prison for 10 years. Had sex with a bunch of ugly lesbians in prison, but not a man, okay? So she's all excited and stuff, right? She's so excited that she breaks some dishes. Some expensive, priceless china that was brought in by Andrew's mother, who specifically told Millie, put these somewhere safe where nobody can grab them or use them or break them. Okay, these are priceless family heirlooms. Okay, so what does Millie do? She grabs, that's the first thing she does. She grabs those dishes and puts breakfast on there, all right? Well, what does she do next? She fucking breaks the dishes, right? Well, this upsets Andrew when he sees it. Okay, but he tells her just pick up all the pieces, okay, and put them in a bag. Don't throw away the pieces. I got a plate guy who's gonna, you know, super glue it back together so it'll be okay, right? So that's what she does, but she does forget to wash the pieces, okay? They're still dirty. There's still crusty food on there, okay? So he points that out to her. How come they're not clean? She's like, oh, well, I didn't want to cut my finger in the sink washing them. So he's like, okay, you know what? Let's put a pin in dinner for now. And let's just drink this bottle of champagne and let's go upstairs so I can just fuck you to death, huh? And Millie's all, oh, hell yeah. And so she jumps on him, he picks her up and carries her up, 6 flights of stairs to, not to the master bedroom, but to Millie's housemaid room. Okay, the one with no bathroom and only one window and that locks from the out. Yeah, he takes her there. Okay, they drink some champagne and it looks like they're starting to fuck. And then I don't know what happens because the next thing we know, Millie's waking up. Now, you could make the argument that somehow Andrew put a drug inside the champagne to make Millie pass out. But then you got to remember that Andrew opened up the bottle of champagne right in front of Millie. So there's no way he could have put like a roofie in there, okay, without Millie seeing him do it. Not only that, but he also drank from the same bottle that she did. Okay, he poured 2 glasses and he drank one, she drank the other. So by that reckoning, he also would have passed out. But clearly he didn't. Okay, so like I said, this movie makes no fucking sense. I just want you to go with it. All right. So later on, Millie wakes up alone in the room. Okay, and all the furniture is gone. Yes, all the furniture, the nightstand, the books that were there, all that shit's gone. The pictures on the wall, it's all gone. In fact, the sheets are gone from the bed. Okay, it's just a mattress now. So she's laying down on the mattress. Okay, and guess what? The door's fucking locked. Like we didn't see this coming. Right? Okay, so she screams for Andrew to let her out. Andrew, what's going on here? The door's stuck. I can't get out. Okay, in a low voice, Andrew's on the other side of the door. He's just there like, I will, just not yet. So now the evil Andrew's coming out. Okay, it turns out this super nice guy, super charming, super everything, right? Kind, humble, filthy rich, handsome. That guy, guess what? He's an asshole. Turns out he was an asshole the whole time. All right, you just didn't know it. Okay? And he tells her it's not a game, And then he walks away while she's pounding on the door. She's like slamming, like, Andrew, let me out of here, Andrew. And he just like lets her like scream and pound on the door. He just walks away, and she starts screaming. She's just like, ah! Now, boom, boom, transition. Now, the movie, for the next 15 minutes or so, the movie's about Nina now. It's not about Millie anymore. Okay, now the last time we saw Nina was when they had that confrontation in front of the stairs, in front of the door, where Nina accused Andrew, her husband, of fucking Millie while she was out of town, which he did. He lied and said, oh, you're imagining things again, that kind of thing, But she found the brochure because they went to a Broadway show in Manhattan called, what was it called? I don't even remember what it was called. The Big Show or something. Showbound or something like. Anyways, it was stupid. All right. They went to a Broadway show. Showdown. That's what it's called. Showdown. They went to go see Showdown on Broadway, and then afterwards they went to a restaurant where they had a bunch of martinis and they danced together and stuff. And they were too drunk to drive, so they decided to use the hotel reservation that they already made. Okay, and of course they had sex. Okay, and then they came back to the house and acted like nothing had happened. All right. Well, guess what? He told Millie after they had sex the next morning that Nina can never know about what we did. That kind of thing. Okay. So right after he told her that, they both decided to bring the brochures from the Broadway show back home with them and just leave them around where Nina can find them. And she did. So when she confronts them, she has proof that they went to the Broadway show together because she has the brochure from that Broadway show. Okay, so that's going on here. Okay, and Andrew tells her, I'm not going to let you mistreat her anymore. Nina called the cops on Millie and reported her car stolen, which was a lie. Nina gave Millie the keys to her car because she said that Millie's own car was an embarrassment in the neighborhood. Okay, so Nina gave Millie the keys to her car, and she went to the grocery store to buy the stuff that Nina told her to go buy, and then she got arrested. Okay, so Andrew had to show up and get the cops to release her. He tells Nina, how could you do this to this poor girl? I'm not going to let you ruin her life anymore. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, then he tells her, enough, okay, I want you out of my house. Nina says, you can't do that. And he says, no! And so she gets it now. Okay, and then Millie, of course, standing there is like, I'll help you pack. That, so of course Nina just clocks her against the face. She grabs her purse and her keys and she drives off. Okay, she goes up to the gate opens, and while she's sitting there in her car, she's crying and screaming. We see her scream. Ah! Okay, so we think that Nina being a bitch the whole movie and being psycho, because it's been hinted at that she murdered her parents in a house fire that she started when she was a little girl. We've already learned that Nina has been in the nut house several times. One time was when she tried to kill her little girl. She tried to kill her daughter. Yes, tried to drown her daughter. Okay, so Nina's fucking psycho. Okay, and now psycho Nina has to accept the fact that the housemaid that she hired has seduced her husband, and that her husband prefers the housemaid over her. So she's getting kicked out of her own house. Okay, so we think that that's why Nina was screaming. Well, it turns out that was all bullshit. All that was red herring. Okay. Not to me, though. Throughout the entire course of the movie, I always affirmed the position that Nina was a cunt throughout the entire movie, beginning and end. Okay, she was never a good person. Okay, she was never a heroic person. Okay, she was a cunt. Okay, there are no good people in this movie. There are no good people in this movie. Everyone from the fucking groundsman to the cops, they're all pieces of shit. There's not one person in this movie you can root for. Even the little girl is a fucking cunt. Okay? There's not one character in this movie that you can root for. Okay? They're all pieces of shit, just to different degrees. Okay? And this movie wants you to think that Nina is actually a victim, therefore she's heroic for what she did. Bull fucking shit. She is just as much of a cunt as Andrew is, okay? As Millie is, as everyone else, okay? She's a piece of shit too. Okay, so now we see, we pick up where we left off, Nina screaming, and then she drove away. Well, it turns out when she was screaming in her car, she was screaming tears of joy. She was happy. Yes, she was happy that her husband is fucking Millie and that her husband kicked her out of the house. She's happy about this. Okay, she's like, ah, she's laughing now and stuff. And just get the fuck out of here. Boom. Okay, so now we're gonna find out why. Okay. So in the transition, okay, it turns out that she tears of joy. We start hearing the stupid ass song "Since You've Been Gone." You know that fucking chick pop song. You know, one of those fucking chick self-esteem songs that they always seem to make for girls but never for boys. You know, because women have to prove how fucking tough and strong they are and how they're better than men, and they do that by making fucking self-esteem songs. Okay, so they can sing about their insecurities, so they can tell the whole world that they don't have any. Okay, this song is by Kelly Clarkson. This song came out in 2004. Yeah, it was a long time ago. All right, Since You've Been Gone. So we hear that while we see a montage. The montage is now we get a fucking montage of Nina. She's in a hotel room. Okay, she's all happy and excited. She's also drinking champagne. Okay, she's jumping up and down. She's dancing like a little girl. She's happy and shit. She's jumping up and down on the bed, getting shit-faced. She's just like, ah. She's drinking like that. Okay, she's all fucking excited. Okay, it's this girl power, 100%. Fuck you, Andrew. Ah! She's just happier than a pig in shit. All right. Okay, in the hotel room, she's smoking cigarettes in the bathroom, which I'm sure hotels do not allow. Okay, she takes, I guess she grabbed a picture of Andrew. Okay, but somehow she did that when she was storming out of the house. We didn't see it happen, but from the moment she slapped Millie across the face till she walked over to the desk there and grabbed her keys and her purse, and she walked out the door. Somewhere in between that 1.5 second of space, she grabbed a big fucking 6x8 picture of Andrew. And she pulls it out and she sets it on fire with her cigarette lighter, okay? Which she burns him in effigy. Okay, get it? Okay, she's so happy that she's not with Andrew anymore. Okay? So that goes on here. Okay, and she starts reading off a letter that she wrote to her daughter. Okay, and it starts so for this section of the movie is all from Nina's point of view. Okay? She's narrating what we're gonna see. Okay, so Nina wrote a letter to Cece in the event that either Cece turns 18 or Nina dies. Okay, so this is basically her will that she left for her daughter. Okay, so she's dictating this letter to Cece. Okay, where the fuck is Cece anyway? Where the fuck did she go? Did the movie even tell us? I know that Nina went out of town for the weekend, and then she came back. But where the fuck is Cece? We don't know. That's her daughter. Okay? Anyway, so she's dictating this letter to Cece, okay, and we find out a lot of information about Nina. It turns out that Nina has a bullshit life story, okay? So we see the funeral, okay, back in a flashback. We see the funeral, Nina's little girl, or her parents' funeral. Now remember, her parents died in a house fire, and earlier in the movie, and while they were watching Family Feud, Andrew hinted to Millie, because she's his employee, that the woman of the house, the woman who hired her, okay, probably burned her parents to death in a house fire when she was a little girl. So now we see the funeral of this, okay, because that's the kind of things you tell your employees, you know, especially the ones that, you know, are in charge of everything for you, okay, that the person that hired you killed their parents. Okay, so she's at the funeral. It turns out that she did not burn her parents to death. She did not start that fire. Okay, it was not her that did that. Okay, but she does wish that she had burned to death with them. Okay, we find that out. Okay, you know, she also says that she's an idiot, which finally, at least there's some self-reflection right there. Yes, Nina, you are an idiot, and you're not the only one. You, Millie, the fucking Andrew, okay, the bitch from Vampire Diaries that wrote this fucking piece of shit script. Okay, the gay director, Paul Fagg, that's his name, okay, who directed this piece of shit, okay, and the woman, what the fuck's her name again? Got Sarah something, Sarah, what the fuck is her name? Yeah, Sarah Cohen, okay, the Jewish doctor from Manhattan who uses the pseudonym Frida McFadden. I guess she wants to come across as Irish, who wrote this fucking novel. Yeah, they're all a bunch of fucking idiots, okay? They're all a bunch of fucking idiots. Okay, so yes, so Nina admits that she's an idiot. Okay, her parents died in the fire when she was 8 years old. She did not start the fire, but she does wish that she had burned to death with them because she spent her childhood living in foster homes. Okay, we find out that Nina's real hair is brown, not blonde, the way we've seen it. Now, earlier in the movie, we did notice Andrew said something about Nina's roots are starting to show, that she needs to get that fixed. But it was kind of a passive remark, and we probably didn't pay too much attention to it. But yes, Nina has been blonde throughout the entire movie, and now we find out that her hair is actually brown. Okay? We find out that Nina has abandonment, self-esteem, and trust issues. She's not good at fitting in with other kids her age. Okay? So that explains why she fucked her married law school professor. You see, I told you it wasn't her fault. We see her on the college campus. We see her sitting there listening to the professor lecture. The guy looks like he's 60 fucking years old, but that turns her on because she's giving him fuck me eyes while she's sitting in his class, okay? And so she fucks him, a married law school professor, okay? Yes, and that is not her fault, okay? It's because she grew up in foster homes, her parents died. That's why she has the self-esteem issues, the trust issues, the not fitting in, the abandonment, all that kind of shit. Yeah. So it's not her fault that she fucked the professor. She could not help herself because of all her trauma, all her issues. You see what I mean? She's not responsible for her actions at all. It's all because of that. Okay, just so you know. Okay, so I knew it wasn't her fault. It was the professor's fault, if anything, right? For fucking a student when he's married. You see what I mean? He's the one that did wrong, not her. Okay, anyway, the professor didn't want anything to do with Nina. Okay, after she found out she was pregnant, she told him, and he fucking told her, get the fuck away from me. Okay, apparently, and none of Nina's libtard friends, okay, could convince her to kill the baby inside her stomach. You know what I mean? I can't say that word on YouTube. Okay, so she decides to drag her infant to work with her at her new job as a secretary, because I guess they got like a daycare in the building. So there she is carrying this fucking baby with her to work, okay? Dropping the baby off at the nursery while she goes upstairs and works as a secretary. I think about my son when he was that age. I used to have to carry him around too in one of those things, those bassinet things, okay? So she drags her infant to work, okay, every day instead of suing the law professor for child support, which she has every right to. I mean, she went to fucking law school, but the idea of suing her professor for child support never occurred to her, okay? She's going to do it all on her own, right? Okay, this movie just wants you to go with that, okay? Are you out of your freaking mind? Okay? The college professor has a lot deeper pockets than Nina does, okay? That is his freaking kid, unless it's someone else's, but Nina doesn't want to tell that to her daughter in the letter. Get it? Okay, then yes, okay, you get a DNA sample and you can sue him for child support. She does not have to fucking do this all by herself. She chooses to do it and then she calls herself a victim. Okay, typical woman in America, right? Or at least maybe not women in America, but typical. This is typical to the way that women are portrayed in movies and TV shows and books. Okay, just like this. Okay, I don't need no man. Okay, yeah. So all that's going on here. Okay, she works as a secretary at a law firm. Okay, and apparently, even though she's nursing right now, she doesn't notice that she's lactating through her blouse. But all the employees and the clients can see that. Her boss has to call her out on it because she's too fucking stupid just to look at her chest and see, okay, that she's lactating right through her blouse. Okay, so she's like this nerdy girl running around through the law office. Okay, well, this is where she first meets Andrew. Okay. Andrew is one of her boss's clients, okay? A rich guy in a suit, all that kind of stuff, right? We see Nina milking herself, nursing herself, in the bathroom, the shit that women do. You know what I'm talking about, all right? Anyway, turns out that's the reason she took the job at the law firm is for the health insurance, you know, and for the daycare. Okay, that's why. Okay, because it provides that to their employees, all right? Well, Andrew's there. He feels sorry for Nina. I don't know why. Okay, if a woman walked in and her nipples were lactating through her blouse at a high-priced law firm, okay, I don't think that would necessarily make me attracted to her. I sure as fuck wouldn't fall in love with her unless those tits were a lot bigger, okay? But they're not. So what am I falling in love with? Nothing. Nothing, but this movie wants you to expect that Andrew fell in love with her right there. Love at first sight. And so, well, I understand why Nina fell in love with Andrew, okay? Cha-ching, I get that. That makes sense. I don't get why Andrew fell in love with her. Because despite the fact that Andrew is a psychopath, okay, he does legitimately love her. He just loves himself more, okay? All right, so that's going on here, okay? Yeah, so yeah, that's how she meets him. Okay, he asks her out. He's just like, hey, I'm rich, I'm handsome, good looking. Let's go out. Let's go get a drink after work. And she's like, okay. You know, that kind of thing, right? Okay, well, Andrew, it turns out that she tells us that Andrew is charming, humble, handsome, cute, fine, gorgeous, sexy, attractive, and good looking. Okay, she tells us all this, all right? Nina creams herself right there in the restaurant when they're having dinner together, like right there. Okay, Andrew asks Nina out again. And he says, not only does he ask her out for another date, he says that he himself will provide the child care for her baby. He's like, hey, my mom would love to take care of your baby when we go out again. Or you can bring the baby with us. That'll be fine too. Like that, okay? Okay, and she says that it took 6 weeks for Andrew to fuck her. I think it probably took like 6 minutes. Okay, but she says 6 weeks because, you know, we gotta protect her chastity. Okay, because the fact she's a single mom does not mean that she's a fucking whore. Okay, it doesn't. It never did. Right? Okay, and we all know that rich billionaires, you know, handsome, you know, 6'2", hung to their shoe, square jawed, ripped abs, filthy, stinking rich, charming, gorgeous, sexy, all that stuff that I said earlier. Okay, we all know that those guys are only attracted to single moms. Okay, that's what completes them. Okay, that's what they fantasize about. Okay, so yeah, that's going on. This movie's very realistic, okay? It took 6 weeks for him to fuck her and 6 months for him to get on one knee and propose to her. Okay, while she's pushing the fucking stroller. Okay, she couldn't resist her knight in shining armor. That's what she calls him, her knight in shining armor. Okay, of course, questioning why a handsome young multimillionaire would want to marry a single mom is a question that no one in the production of this movie bothered to ask. Okay, because it kind of breaks the spell. Okay, but you would have to have put me in a spell already for this to break it. Okay, you never put me in a spell. Okay, this movie was bullshit from the moment I started watching it. I never once believed anything that was happening in this movie because it was all contrived. Okay, it was all shorthand for fucking actual storytelling. You're telling me everything, you're showing me fucking nothing. Okay, you're not explaining jack shit. You expect us all to be a bunch of fucking idiots and just go with everything. Okay? That's not how a good storytelling works. You can't be asking us too much of this shit. You gotta show it, you gotta back it up. Come to think of it, none of these fucking chick movies ever answer that question. Okay, why a fucking multimillionaire, super good-looking alpha male, the guy who's a 10, why would he fucking want to be with a fucking average-looking single mom? It's never explained, but it's always shown in these chick shows and movies and shit and romance novels. It's all the same fucking shit. All right, and you women believe it, you know, until real life hits you right in the fucking face. And then what do you do? What do you do? Do you say, oh my God, you lied to me? All that shit I've been watching, it was been a bit of lie? No, you don't. You just blame men. Okay. So that's going on here. Okay, he carries her across the house, okay, the threshold on the wedding night. Yes, he's in a tuxedo. She's in her wedding dress. He's carrying her across, the lobby there, the house. Okay, now how is it that he already has a house like that when he's single, living by himself? Well, there's an explanation for that too. Apparently, at one point, Andrew was engaged. He was engaged to a woman named Kathy. And Kathy jilted him, stood him up at the altar. He built the house for him and Kathy, and she fucking abandoned him. Okay? So that's what happened, okay? he once had a fiance named Kathy, okay? And of course, you know, Nina, being this good woman that she is, never bothered to ask him what the fuck ever happened to Kathy. She never once asked him about that. All she thought was, oh, her loss, that kind of thing, right? Yeah, okay? She never asked Andrew whatever happened to Kathy. She just went with it, like they're expecting you to go with it. Okay, well, later on, while prepping for food for Andrew, Andrew tells her that her brown roots are starting to show. Yes, okay? And that she needs to fix it. Okay, so now the asshole Andrew's starting to come out, all right? But I'm about to lose my shit, okay? So anyway, I'll get to that in the next video, okay? Right now, I'm going to sign off. I want to thank you very much for watching these videos, and I will see you soon on the next one. Bye.